Is there a paranormal Olympics? What's the most haunted food? Answers to these questions and more on this episode of This Paranormal Life! Hello!
Hey!
And welcome back to This Paranormal Life. This is a weekly comedy podcast where every Tuesday, me, Kit Grimmelvenna, and this guy sitting across from me, Mr. Rory Powers, get to the bottom of a different paranormal case, deciding by the end of that episode whether we think it's really paranormal or not. How are you doing today, Rory?
Doing fantastic. Love the idea of a paranormal Olympics. You know, straight off the bat, the long jump. You've got Spring-Heeled Jack. Slender Man.
Running out of sports really quickly, right?
No, competing in the long jump.
Yeah.
Because those guys they got hops.
Some sports might need to be rejigged because you could have things like the 1,000-meter hurdle. Talk about performance-enhancing drugs. Ghosts are just going to float right through every hurdle. I don't think that really counts. I think they should have to jump over it. We're going to have to rethink a few sports.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Long jump, again, they can float. High
really
jump, they
locking
can
into-
float.
Right, there is more stuff than jumping too.
Real athletes should just kill themselves on the starting line, become ghosts, and they'll win every single competition.
Don't clip that out. Right, I see what you...
I'm saying become a ghost.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that does kind of make sense. Like when...
I wasn't saying do it because there's no chance that you're going to win a gold medal. I was saying you'll perform better as a spirit, as a ghost.
Yes. Well, it's like that old joke people sometimes say that, hey, what we really need to see is one schlub from the real world put into every Olympic event, just to be a frame of reference for the elite performance of Olympic athletes.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, we all watch the high jump, we watch the long jump, and even with like 6 Coronas in me sitting on the sofa scratching my ass, I'm like, I think I could do better. I really think I could do better.
Right. But if in that televised competition, they had some guy called Jeremy, who's never done a day of exercise in his life, also competing, you'd realize how high that jump is.
Yeah.
Because he can kind of barely make it onto the mat. He kind of just falls down, his knees buckle. Then you realize how impressive the Olympic athletes really are.
My only experience of these kinds of games were like school, like PE, like kind of sports day shit. We would do some of this kind of track stuff. I seem to remember you were kind of annoyingly good at quite a lot of it. I seem to remember almost with like a baseball, simply because Rory was American, with his baseball chops, you were pretty good at like shot put, javelin, anything with that you need a mean right shotgun for.
You are right. It's because, so I grew up playing baseball in Northern Ireland, and people don't really think about it a lot, but in the UK, there aren't really a lot of popular sports that involve throwing shit.
Yeah, that's
It's a lot
more
of
a
kicking
kind of,
shit.
It's more of kicking people to death. There's a lot of throwing kind of Molotov cocktails and petrol bombs, but that's less kind of on the track and field.
I guess
sports day.
rugby, but rugby's even like kind of underarm and backwards.
Yeah.
Whereas,
we're spindly. We don't have good arms, good throwing arms.
beefy legs, but spindly arms. So it just meant when it came to any competition that involved throwing stuff like javelin or shot put, that American eagle arm in me just screeched with 1,000 years of patriotism and fired that thing into the sun.
1,000 years of patriotism. America didn't exist 300 years ago, but yes.
It exists in the hearts of men. It meant that luckily, I think I was on our school's gymnastic team for like 3 sports. Not running, mind you, because I was a heavy, heavy boy. But yes, all the ones that just involve throwing things.
I like the idea the PE teacher, he treated you like a Wagyu beef cow. He was like, now Rory, don't be spending too much energy on the running. We need you in A+ conditions. So Rory, here's a sleeve of Oreos and a couple of juice boxes. You just hit the showers, champ. You've killed it this afternoon, brother.
Right.
It's like what the why doesn't Rory have to sprint with the rest of us? Rory is a champion, and we need to let him rest.
By the end of my 3rd year at school, I looked like the king of Arrakis from Dune. I was kind of floating in goo. Sure, I could throw a ball far, but I couldn't do anything else. It was not good.
Baron Harkonnen of secondary school, pass me the shot put. This is very timely because the Olympics, it's on right now at the time of recording. I don't know if it's going to be over by the time this comes out, but it has been an exciting time and maybe it's got us thinking about what Paranormal Olympics could look like. We are not here to talk about any of that, though. We are going to be talking about something equally or more important, but very different today. Rory, let me start off by asking you a quick question. You're a film buff, right?
Sure, I went to film school. I enjoy the medium of cinema. So, yes,
You get invited to a lot of movie premieres as well.
I have in the past.
There was actually a beautiful period in the kind of mid-2010s where Rory was single and he had a bunch of plus ones to events. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, boy Kit was getting the trickle-down tickonomics, getting mad tickets to things.
Yeah, yeah. We were almost late to every single one. I don't think we ever got to walk the red carpet. But that's what all the cool people do, right? They show up super late.
Which is pretty impressive for a guy like me who was absolutely unemployed at that time. Maybe you listening at home don't have a degree in film like Rory, but you don't have to go to film school to know that film can change the world. History proves time and time again that film is an extremely powerful medium. And that is also true in the paranormal world.
Ooh.
Normally on This Paranormal Life, we dive into a case and hope for the best, that there's some evidence along the way, but not today. Today, we're doing it backwards. Because sometimes there's a piece of evidence so important, you have to start there.
I like this.
And today's case is about the most famous paranormal evidence in history, the Patterson footage.
Holy shit. Okay, this is like going back and investigating the first ghost story. This is returning to the source of the inspiration behind a paranormal phenomenon.
Rory, I say we just dive right in.
Let's do it.
After a couple of words from today's sponsors and a
Well, no,
reminder
because you
that-
just said we're going to dive right in. You said, Rory, let's dive right in. And I said, yeah, that sounds great. And now you're saying we're going to an ad break?
But it's kind of a podcasting,
That's
you know,
weird.
it's kind of a wink and a nudge in the podcasting industry that everyone knows that, you know, we're going to get right into it, but first. But, you know, but first.
So we're not getting right into it then. You would say we're
All
you know,
right.
at
Well,
some
you're
point
being
we're going to
a
talk
little bit
about
of a
it.
tricksy little pedant today.
I'm just excited because you said that we're going to talk about the most important paranormal footage ever
Yeah.
seen, and we're going to do it right now.
Yeah.
Right after a quick word.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah, well, then it
exactly.
isn't right now, you know?
Well,
so
hey,
just don't get me excited.
I'll do you one better.
Okay.
You're not going to hear the ads,
Oh, of course,
right?
yeah.
Because you're with me in the studio.
That's right.
So it's actually for you, it's going to seem absolutely seamless. For our listeners
Yeah.
at home, because of the ad-supported nature of This Paranormal Life, which we are spending way too much time deliberating, people are arguably just they probably started fast-forwarding through the ads as soon as I started talking earlier. If anything, they probably stopped hitting fast-forward and are they back
Yeah.
at this point. And I'm sorry to tell you, everyone, the ads
haven't
haven't
even
even
started
hit
yet.
Oh, mother of mercy.
And it's crazy as well, because as you said, I wasn't even going to hear the ads.
Yes.
We would have gone right into it, but now we've actually spent quite a bit of time talking about
You
going
have
into
been
the ads.
belaboring the ad process.
Yeah. So I don't actually mind. Me, do double ads. It doesn't make a difference to me.
To you, exactly.
Yeah.
I will use this as a jumping off point to say that if you like Rory, you are weirdly angry about ads. You can get every episode of This Paranormal Life on patreon.com/This Paranormal Life. That is the kind of online home of TPL where you can get every episode of the TPL ad-free. So when we get to this point, you don't have to skip forward. You do still have to listen to this because Rory has derailed me. But normally there will be absolutely no talk of ads at all.
So if you do want Kit to say, let's get right into it, and then we do get right into it, go over to Patreon. That's where that will happen. But if you enjoy lies, if you enjoy lies
No,
and
they're not
corruption,
lies.
then stick around.
No.
Because you're about to hear some words from today's
Look, we have
sponsors.
beautiful. Thank you to our partners. Thank you to our partners, whoever is partnering with us today to support TPL. The link to Patreon is in the description of this podcast. Swipe up on your podcast app or on youtube.com. Check us out there. You can get the link to that. So I'm going to stop talking now. Probably.
That wasn't the ad?
That wasn't the ad.
I thought that was the ad. You were like, hey,
Run
go
the ads. Run the ads. And actually, there is one last thing that I have to bring up. This isn't an ad, but there are a handful of tickets left for our show this Friday at the Edinburgh Fringe at the Speakeasy.
There's more ads?
It's not really an ad. It's just to say, because we already said that there's a show this Friday at 9:30 p.m. in Edinburgh for the Fringe. And it's just letting you know. It's not an ad. I'm just letting you know that there's like, we're talking the teens, like a couple handfuls of tickets left. for that show.
Right. Less than 20 tickets left for this Paranormal Life Live performing this Friday at Edinburgh Fringe. I'll allow this ad. This is an important one.
Link is in the description if you want to go to that. All right, we're back. Are you happy?
Yeah.
That was quite quick for you, wasn't it?
It was almost instantaneous.
And to some of our listeners, they might not even got served an ad.
Right,
so
because sometimes the
fine.
slots aren't filled.
Sometimes
So
there just isn't an ad.
All right, so kind of the whole thing probably didn't need to be talked about.
Yeah.
Into the story, into today's story.
Let's dive right in.
Right.
Like the Olympics, like the Olympic diving. Let's dive right in. As I said, we were talking about the most important paranormal evidence of all time, the original most important footage of Bigfoot, the Patterson footage. 7.27 meters of analog film, Rory. 954 immortal frames with a full runtime of 1 minute.
Wow, it's not really that long, is it?
I feel like we should show this shit to the creators of Dune 2. Like, I think we can cut this shit down, guys, from 3 hours. Look at what these guys were able to fit into 1 minute of film.
They changed history with 1 minute.
But how did it all play out that fateful day?
Bob, cover me.
Shouts Roger Patterson as he leaps from his startled horse and wrestles a cinecam from his saddlebag. The camera rolls. It's October 20th, 1967. We're deep in the woodlands of Northern California with cryptid hunter Roger Patterson and his associate Robert Bob Gimlin. In a clearing on the banks of Bluff Creek, they've just spotted a large, hairy figure crouched behind a fallen tree. The creature rises and walks in the opposite direction, estimated to be 7 foot tall, bipedal and covered in thick brown hair. The ape-like figure is exactly the creature Patterson has been hunting for the past few years, the beast known as Bigfoot. It's as close as 25 feet away and moves purposefully into the more dense forest. It looks over its shoulder multiple times at the stunned men. But crucially, we don't just know this because of Patterson and Gimlin's testimony, but because of the footage that Patterson shot on his 16mm camera. All 59.5 seconds of it.
Wow. And look, people listening to this podcast right now, you may think that you don't know this footage, that you haven't seen this footage. If you've ever even seen an illustration of Bigfoot, it's come from this footage.
Right.
That iconic walk that he's doing in every Bigfoot illustration, the halfway
mid-stride silhouette.
Face turned towards the camera. That comes from the Patterson footage. There's a reason why that pose is so iconic, and it comes from this.
Yes, it's a good point because as we've heard, the film is about a minute long, but there is just a couple of crucial moments where he is mid-stride and he turns and basically locks eyes with the camera.
Oh, he goes Vogue. He kind of pouts. You know this mother been mewing. He's got that chiseled jawline. He looks good.
He's breaking the fourth wall like he's in a series of The US Office. He's addressing us, the audience. Fun fact, Rory, I don't know if you remember, this image, this silhouette, this imagery of Bigfoot is actually a lot closer to home than the audience might know because...
Of Dublin? Because of the Gorilla Man I saw in Dublin?
No, f*** off. We're not talking about that.
Well, that's pretty close to home.
No.
Okay.
There's a different reason.
All right.
Can we just get a clean take of that? Because I want to cut that.
No, don't cut that because it's
we're not very
important.
far into the episode, and I don't want to be bringing up the Dublin Gorilla Man.
He's gonna come up in my nightmares.
This good.
Since the event,
Good. I hope he tortures you in your dreams. The silhouette of Bigfoot in the Patterson footage, that is on the original This Paranormal Life artwork of this podcast.
Yeah.
Our weird burgundy mauve artwork back in the day in 2017, it had a triptych, a kind of 3 icons. It had Bigfoot, a UFO, and an alien head.
Yeah.
And if you look back, listeners, you will see that that is the Patterson footage Bigfoot.
Well, it stayed for even longer than that because we did the rebrand where it was the triangle.
So true.
And he was in the triangle. And I think I've only disclosed this before at live shows, but it's been long enough now. If you actually look at high-res versions of the This Paranormal Life artwork, you can see the 3 original icons hiding in the artwork.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, I believe the UFO and Bigfoot and the ghost are somewhere there in the design.
I forgot that. It's a good Easter egg, actually, if anyone hasn't heard that, because that is, we wanted to keep we want to literally keep the DNA of the original artwork alive in the new art. So take another look at that artwork.
This is where I go and check it, and I'm like, no, never mind. We actually didn't
we
do
took
it.
it out. Yeah, it looked shit.
It looked bad. No, it's there. I'm pretty sure.
But I don't know. Actually, thinking about this, I have no idea if we had the rights to use that image, but we printed it on a lot of T-shirts. So cool.
Yeah, definitely not the Bigfoot one. I actually drew the UFO and the ghost. Fun fact.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
But you're like, you just got tired for the Bigfoot. You're like,
But I ain't drawing that. I ain't drawing that pose. I'm not good enough.
But Rory, I'm glad you brought it up. You said, look, if you don't think you've seen this, you have. So to be clear, you've seen this footage before?
Oh, I've seen this footage before. I think we've maybe even used it in cases before where we've investigated Sasquatch and Bigfoot.
Yes, if you're joining us maybe for one of the first times, we have covered Bigfoot many times in other episodes in various visages, such as the skunk ape and other similar beasts. But I felt it was necessary to do a deep dive on the Patterson footage. It is so important. This has been suggested by several listeners, so thank you if you have suggested that over email or on social media. Thank you for this great idea. You've probably seen it before, and if you haven't, go check it out right now as you listen to this. I think we take this opportunity to remind ourselves of that Patterson footage.
Let's do it. Before we get any further, I want to watch this right now.
Rory, feast your eyes.
Okay, we've got a shaky camera capturing images of the woods. This footage is a lot older looking than I remember. Do you know what year this was filmed in?
67.
67.
Which is a lot more recent than the Patterson footage feels.
Yeah, this looks like it was 1930s. But of course, we got a shot of the woods here. In the distance, we do have a very tall bipedal monkey-looking figure further away than you probably think, strolling leisurely kind of from a clearing in the woods deeper into the forest.
It's very shaky at the beginning, but then thankfully Patterson does really steady the camera for the middle portion of the video, and that's when we get a really, really good look at this thing.
Yeah, it's pretty clear. Even with this old-timey camera, it is very clear.
And I think that's exactly why people have been able to get such a strong image of Bigfoot from this, because you can, I mean, we could do it in a second, but you can stop this video right on that stabilized section. Let's try and capture the moment right here on the podcast when he looks back.
There it is!
There it is.
Oh my God, Kit timed it perfectly. That is the iconic Sasquatch pose. Wow.
Like, I think we've literally seen this on posters. I'm pretty sure Mulder has that framed in his office. You know, it's that kind of image.
Yeah,
What I wanted to show you, just for another quick look at this, is using the power of modern video software technology, we can see a stabilized version of this to get even more images of Bigfoot.
Wow, this is terrifying. The shot has been stabilized, but he's still moving through the frame. It's kind of blending it together. That is terrifying. The technology is able to do that. I mean, with AI these days, you could probably next show me a clip where he's in an anime. And this is what it would look like if he had Goku's hair.
Apologies if you were listening to this in podcast form in your favorite podcast player, because this is quite visual. But we will provide a link in the description so you can watch this on YouTube really handily. And if you're watching this on YouTube, when we've embedded the video, I'm sure. But it is easy to understand how this was so impactful, because we're going to talk a lot about how believable or not this footage is. But imagine a world in which this had never been seen before. That's pretty clear, that's pretty cool, that's pretty realistic looking on absolute surface level.
Yeah, in terms of the first evidence of something like this existing, it's pretty clear.
Yeah, we got him.
In 4K.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Yeah.
There is a couple of details I didn't know about this video, namely that as he leaves the field of view of the camera where Patterson is filming him, apparently he took off towards more kind of high forested ground in the forest here. Now, Patterson and Gimlin did try to follow him up there, but they lost track. I guess, fair enough, if you stay kind of in one place filming, trying to keep steady, he's going to gain some ground on you, and he allegedly got away.
He's a big dude. He looks like he's 8 foot.
Well, let's address that before we misgender Bigfoot, Rory, because I did not realize that one of the most famous pieces about this is the creature's breasts. Now, I am proud to say, I don't know if that makes me a boob guy or an ass guy. I did not see the breasts. My eyes did not go, like, fellas, my eyes are up here. I did not look at the creature's chest. But apparently, some more kind of horny individuals have identified that the creature apparently does have breasts, which has given rise to the popular name for this Bigfoot of Paddy, named after Patterson.
Keep an eye on those people.
I'm just saying. So we got to gender the beast correctly, and if I refer to Paddy later on, you know who I'm talking about.
Okay, sure. That's a twist I didn't see coming today.
But to try and understand what happened that day and whether this footage really is genuine or not, let's tell the untold story of Gimlin and Patterson. Roger Patterson was a Renaissance man. Even before his name was immortalized forever in this Patterson footage, he already had an interesting life as a boxer, then rodeo riding, before he turned to the outdoors.
That's quite a career path.
Yeah, again, there's something about this whole era that I just pictured this all happening in like the 1800s, not 1967. Like to think that Jimi Hendrix was about to take to Woodstock during the Summer of Love just 2 years after that footage.
Yeah. 1967 is far too late to have a career that involves boxing and being a rodeo clown.
Yeah. What were his jobs before that? Circus freak? Oil driller? Yeah, just very Wild West jobs.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we were already mining Bitcoin at this point.
And by the time they shot this movie, he had already been a long-time Bigfoot hunter. He had spent long periods searching for this cryptid in the area in question and knew the location pretty well. He became interested in Bigfoot in the 1950s when he stumbled across a magazine article by Ivan T. Sanderson in True magazine. This noted biologist and cryptozoologist described an elusive ape-like animal living almost completely undetected in the forests of Northern California and the Pacific Northwest. The theory seemed to build off of Native American legends of such a creature that already existed for hundreds, if not thousands, of years. Patterson then got wind of some alleged Bigfoot footprints, and in 1966 he traveled to the area and later would publish a book titled Do Abominable Snowmen of America Really Exist?
Oh wow, so this was maybe at a time where Bigfoot and Sasquatch were kind of mixed up with the Yeti, which I think now are known to be kind of distinctive paranormal creatures.
Yeah, I think it's probably fair to say the field of Bigfoot study has broadened.
Right.
And I think even here on this podcast, we tend to split them up a little bit. Like I think me and you are, I don't want to scare anyone off here, but I think we're noted Bigfoot skeptics. And
Sure.
yet, two men who have given a double yes to the existence of the skunk ape.
Right. We're such professionals when it comes to identifying these creatures that Kit saw the Patterson footage and he was like, well, as you can see, these are actually, the breasts are 34C, which means this is a female Sasquatch. You know, some people would have just seen it and they wouldn't have even looked at the breasts. They would have just looked at the creature and screamed. But we're professionals.
This particular specimen seems to have had implantation. I believe these are not naturals, ladies and gentlemen. The creature is natural, but the breasts are anything but. This self-published book of Patterson's collected all the newspaper articles from the time and combined them with some of his own speculation about the beast. So already by 1966, it was clear that if anyone knew the stories of this beast, knew where to look, and knew how to hunt Bigfoot, it was Patterson. What I'm trying to say is he was really about this life.
This is only crazy news to me because up until this point, I always assumed that Patterson was just an explorer or a hunter
Right.
who stumbled upon this creature and got this footage. I didn't realize the motherfucker lived and breathed Bigfoot.
It's understandable. You know, I've been learning a lot about this whole lore, and it just goes to show, I don't think anyone really knows anything about Patterson. Despite his name being so famous, the film itself, the footage has eclipsed anything else in his life
Right.
that he would have been known by. And yeah, we think of like Bigfoot obsession, professional Bigfoot hunters being extremely modern, you know, guys who kind of make their living making Discovery Channel programs. He was doing this all the way back in 1967.
That is crazy, isn't it? You
Yeah.
assume this footage inspired a generation of Bigfoot hunters.
Yeah.
But this footage was found by a Bigfoot hunter
Yeah.
who'd been hunting Bigfoot for years.
I mean, the other cool side of that is that's how famous Bigfoot already was. I mean, even in this early stage when all there was chatter, rumor, allegations,
Damn.
sightings. There were already books being published, people being fascinated by the creature.
We really should have found him by now. If we've been hunting for this many years.
Hey, maybe we did, Rory, that day, but with the Patterson footage. Moving on swiftly, enter Bob Gimlin. Bob was an old school friend of Patterson's. Now, Bob joined him in October of 1967 when Patterson was drawn to the Bluff Creek area due to an increase in alleged Bigfoot sightings. It's an extremely cool atmosphere. I love, because on this Paranormal Life, we travel metaphorically through the podcast to so many amazing locations and times in history. This is a really cool one, I will say. I love the idea of, maybe I've played too much Red Dead Redemption in my life, but I love the idea of two dusty explorers turning up to a log cabin in the middle of the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, yeah.
Ordering 2 shots of whiskey at the bar and asking the bartender, been any sightings of the beast lately? And he's polishing a glass. He's like, I think you want to talk to that fella over there in the corner. A guy who looks weirdly like Aragorn from The Lord of the Rings, hood up, tankard of ale, and everyone's sharing kind of woodland stories of the beast.
Oh, yeah. He lights his cigarette with a gun, just shoots the tip.
Straight into the air.
Yeah. This guy's a bad mother.
So with a plan to hunt for the beast, the pair drove in Gimlin's truck to 6 Rivers National Forest, where they parked and trekked further into the forest on horseback. This is it.
What do you mean?
Don't you just think if you were a Sasquatch, this would be where you'd want to hang out?
Bob, what the are you talking about?
Sometimes I think Bigfoot's got the right idea. Roaming free, no bills, no clothes, no responsibilities, butt naked in God's country.
The mountaineers got to your head. You just don't like your wife and kids, that's what I think.
Whoa, what's wrong, girl?
Jesus, she's spooked. What is it?
Patterson, look! There, at the exact same time they saw what spooked the horses, there was something in the distance, crouching. Patterson jumped down immediately to grab his camera, and he uttered those famous words from the start of the episode, Bob, cover me. Whilst the pair had both agreed beforehand that they didn't intend to shoot and kill Bigfoot, the unfamiliar situation of the encounter required precautions, and Gimlin readied his hunting rifle. Just to be on the safe side.
They're gonna shoot him.
No,
they are.
Because they don't, hey, he's, I think the idea is he's closer than they were anticipating. They were anticipating maybe seeing a rustle in the distance. Bigfoot crept up on them. So
they crept up to him. They closer than they think. They rode up to him.
Bigfoot's eating a bowl of porridge like, oh shit, what the where'd you guys come from?
I love that idea. It's like, while both men agreed that they would not shoot the creature, 45 minutes on the open road had made them snacky. And he looked pretty delicious.
They'd both agreed not to shoot the creature, but Bob understood the look in Patterson's eyes, pulled out the pistol and started firing wildly. And even though Patterson said, Bob, what the are you doing? Stop. Bob knew Patterson was very scared and he needed to be saved. Gimlin did actually later state that he wished he had shot the animal because then everyone would have believed him.
Wow.
Well, just then, they shot the beast in another way by rolling that 16mm Cinecam and capturing the immortal film known as the Patterson footage until they lost sight of the beast altogether.
They hit him with that 16mm instead of that 8mm.
And then you're gonna like this bit, Rory. As if capturing the footage wasn't enough, they actually quickly returned to their campsite to get plaster so that they could get a plaster cast of the beast's footprints.
Right.
They rushed back to the river and got casts of those footprints left in the clearing.
Look, hey, it's funny to laugh at these men and say that they were chasing fairy tales in the wood, but if you go out into the forest and you see something squatting.
If you go into the forest today, you're sure for a big surprise, mother.
Because what animal in the world of animals, in Mother Nature's kingdom,
yes,
crouches? Nothing. Nothing.
They know how to hit that Call of Duty crouch to go off the radar.
Yeah, that's suspicious. Imagine you just saw a donkey squatting, you would shoot it in the head immediately.
What are you hiding from?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What are you squatting from? Imagine you went out into the woods and you saw a badger perched on a rock.
Unless they're taking a shit. That's the only reason animals normally squat.
But I don't think they do even squat. They just let it go.
Ride, yeah.
They just let it rip. It's crazy.
Have you ever seen a cow piss and shit? It doesn't even stop eating.
I don't even think...
It just keeps chewing.
I don't even think they know sometimes it's happening. There's just shit coming out of them.
You got to just hope you're not standing behind the thing. It's a great point. It's a great point because we should say now that footage, it's very human-like. It's arguably a lot more human than probably anyone was expecting. The type of walk, the completely upright walking position, and now we're hearing it was crouched. There is very human elements to this. I mean, Bigfoot is known as some to be potentially the missing link of human evolution. That thing looks like a missing link. It's 99% human.
Brother, it ain't a link. It is human. It's not a gap in between. In another world, we could see this thing walking with a briefcase and a copy of the New York Times.
Rory, let's just quickly, because I don't think I'd ever seen it before, let's just quickly look at the plaster cast they got of Bigfoot's footprints that day.
Whoa, all right. Because I know you said they went out with plaster to try and get casts. They came back with proper casts. This is remarkable. These are enormous footprints. Footprints that look even bigger than the feet of the thing in the footage.
We're talking a size 32, conservatively.
It's a flipper. Look at the toes.
And almost...
It's like golf balls.
Almost like the Patterson images themselves, you kind of have to like reset your brain to realize that, yes, they look cartoonish. They look cartoonish because these are so famous. We've seen these be recreated in Scooby-Doo episodes, documentaries, memes, and all the popular media since 1967. They all stem from this. This is the template of what Bigfoot's feet are supposed to look like.
Hey, I get it. Those are big feet.
Yeah.
I get the name.
Yeah. Clues in the name.
This is also the first time I'm seeing a picture of Roger and his buddy. I assumed that the first time I would see them, they would be in denim overalls with a bit of hay coming from their mouth and butt flap kind of hanging open, endlessly pooing
rude,
like a cow.
Rude. These
look like two pretty well put together gentlemen. They look like they could be scholars.
Yeah, they're styled, whichever one's on the left, he's looking like a young James Dean. He's got the lovely slicked back hair, a little turtleneck sweater. They look put together. I would agree. I know you forget that they were reasonably young-ish at that point. Now, the men had their footage shipped for development that very evening. And after one night on the campsite, they left the next day during heavy rainstorms. In the following days, as news spread of the sighting, numerous outdoorsmen, rangers, and taxidermists visited the clearing, seeing the now gradually disintegrating footprints for themselves, which is one cool thing. Other people, rather than just Patterson and Gimlin, saw the footprints.
Yeah.
Both the men maintained the veracity of this footage over their entire lives, which, for Patterson, sadly wasn't that long. He died in 1972, 5 years later.
Oh, shit. How'd he die?
I don't know. I think he got sick. Let's find out. Yeah, died of cancer in 1972 at 38 years old. As I said, they were pretty young.
Wow.
And despite minor inconsistencies in their stories, largely their retellings of the events of that fateful day were the same. But of course, from the very beginning of this story spreading, people accused Patterson and Gimlin of hoaxing the whole thing. So today, Rory, we have to use our brains for the first time in our stupid lives to try and figure out whether we think this footage is real or not.
Okay, I like this. We are reopening the case to possibly close it once and for all.
At the end of every episode of This Paranormal Life, we decide whether that case is true or not. Today is less about Bigfoot itself. The nature of the paranormal means we are probably going to be talking about Bigfoot till we're as old as Gimlin, who I don't know if he's still around, but he was pretty old by the end. We're going to be talking about Bigfoot forever. But today, I think we can talk about just the Patterson footage itself.
Okay.
Which is a huge slice of paranormal history. Now, thankfully, we're not on our own. We do have help. in the form of people smarter than us. Because, if you're curious about the story, I recommend, even just jumping on the Wikipedia page for the Patterson footage, because there is a long list of smart people who've tried to analyze this. We're talking movement experts, anthropologists, primatologists, experts in photography. Everyone who has kind of 2 cents on this footage has chimed in over the last 50 plus years.
Yeah. That's the nice thing about Bigfoot. When you're investigating UFOs, there's multiple hundreds of cases and incidents where people have seen something, had an experience, claimed to be abducted. With Bigfoot, it's kind of this. It's really this.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, should we look into Bigfoot again? Yeah. We'll look at that footage. How long is it? A minute. All right, cool.
Right, it's pretty convenient in terms of...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is true. I think, like, if you are a Bigfoot hunter, an absolute diehard, I'm sure the kind of hipster Bigfoot hunters who've been researching Bigfoot before it was cool, they'll say, brother, the Patterson footage, oh, that's nothing. You got to see the Genkelmeyer footage.
Right, yeah.
No one's seen it. It's in a vault in Germany, and you gotta, it's like like the coolest nightclub, right? It's like, oh, not everyone can see it, not everyone can get in. I'm sure there's other footage out there. But for all intents and purposes, this is the most famous one. So I think this is a great place to start.
Bigfoot was actually the commander of a Nazi submarine that was dispatched to Antarctica to find the Hollow Earth. It's like, all right.
Yeah. I mean, there are wilder Bigfoot stories in that. I mean, we talked about Bigfoot quite recently in a couple of cases. And, bro, there's dudes that think he's interdimensional. There's dudes that think he's an alien. They're if
we don't talk about them a lot.
If you can think of a Bigfoot theory, it exists, really. But a lot of what we have to go on with this...
He'd be smarter. Sorry to interrupt. If he was an interdimensional creature, he wouldn't be just walking around naked in the woods, presumably eating bugs and rats.
He'd be floating 6 inches off the ground like Magneto.
Yeah, he'd be omnipotent. He could make bananas hover into his mouth. He wouldn't have to forage in the dirt.
One of the biggest things we have to go off here is, let's face it, it's a 60-second piece of footage of a thing walking. So the walk and the look and the style of the creature is a lot of what we have to go on. So a lot of people have dialed in to the walk itself, because the elephant in the room here is this walk a human in a suit and this is a hoax, or is this as yet undiscovered creature, some distant cousin of the great apes?
Yes, and I know a lot of you might not have seen the footage yet, so let me tell you, that guy walks like a dude in a suit.
Well,
No, he does, though.
Right.
He for sure does.
At first glance, I would agree. As a layman, I would agree. It's very
but
human-like.
I think you'll see a little skip and a hop at 34 seconds in. What could he do? What could he do to make that not a human walk? It's 60 seconds long and he walks. He's not like doing the weird movement from Dune to not activate the sandworms. He's walking straight. It's not that crazy.
You would think. You would
And I'd
think.
be right.
You would think.
Okay, no, sorry. Look, tell me why you think that's not a human walk.
I'm borderline on your side, that it feels reasonably cut and dry to me. Because this is not my level of expertise, I'd be focusing on probably other things. Like, let's say, does it look like a gorilla suit? What's the character reference of these men? Was it likely they were trying to perform a hoax? Things like we talk about, have they cashed in on it after the fact? But people who are experts in this kind of stuff, like there was an interesting study at Stanford where scientists Jessica Rose and James Gamble, who were kind of experts in movement, in 1994, they looked into this, trying to slow down the footage, try and recreate this from the point of view, if this is a man in an 8-foot tall gorilla suit, would it be possible to recreate this?
I don't think that's a real qualification, by the way, calling yourself an expert in movement.
No, it absolutely is.
That's not. That's something that 14-year-old Rory would have declared before moving into the center of a dance circle at his local high school.
And then
I'm kind of an expert in movement.
And then he'd fail to perform the worm.
Yeah. Do one wriggle, face plant, hit my head on the wooden floor, and black out in the middle of everyone.
My daughter was actually at a kids' disco recently, by the way, and I was very heartened to see a 9-year-old boy perform the worm. in the middle of the dance floor. It was just, it gladdened my heart to know that the worm has not died, because that was a big part of my childhood.
Yeah.
Because wasn't there a WWE star who would do the worm?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't remember whose special move that was, but he would do the worm and then like body slam his opponent.
That's not necessarily an animal I think a wrestler would want to be associated with. Worms? I mean, there's so many to choose from. Do like the tiger and jump from the top rope and slash your opponent.
I had to look it up. It was Scotty Too Hottie. Scotty Too Hottie's specialty was the worm.
Right. Okay. So his identity wasn't a wrestler called the Worm.
No. No.
Because he ain't getting a belt. You can't even put it on the slippery mother.
Say he did the worm. He didn't wriggle around the ground literally like a worm. He did the popular dance move.
The dance move.
The worm.
Yeah.
Some researchers suggested that we may be looking at Rory Gigantopithecus. This is the missing link.
Remains have been discovered of a creature that most resembles Bigfoot, and that is the species called Gigantopithecus.
Gigantopithecus is a primate from the Pleistocene era. It was believed to have gone extinct about 300,000 years ago.
An ancestor of modern-day orangutans, Gigantopithecus is thought to be the largest primate to ever live on Earth.
Gigantopithecus was enormous. Its teeth were of such proportion that we estimate its body mass to be on the order of 800 to 1,200 pounds.
We're talking about a 10-foot animal, and when people describe seeing Bigfoot, the sheer mass and size of it leads some people to believe that Gigantopithecus, or a relic version of it, is Bigfoot. Maybe it's evolved to be a little bit smaller, a little bit more nimble, or we're just not seeing the big boys, and all we're seeing are the females.
That is Bigfoot. That beast.
Yeah, that thing is huge.
It is giant. It actually reminds me tremendously of the skunk ape, because if you remember that in the skunk ape episode, we got pictures by the end. That was part of what pushed us over the edge into believing with it.
Yeah.
That motherfucker looked exactly like the skunk ape.
I mean, the pictures we just saw there of this creature, you know, it's interesting to note, though, the hands on that thing basically went down to its ankles, which we definitely didn't see in the Patterson footage. The Patterson footage, it does look a lot more like either gorilla or like a guy in a monkey suit.
Yeah, that's right. And they did bring that up. It's possible that the Bigfoot we're seeing is like a evolution of that, right?
Yeah.
That it's like, okay, this is the last giant monkey that existed on Earth. Is there now something that's kicking about that is a descendant of that?
Can you imagine being a creature where the start of your name is Gigantus? You would assume you don't have to evolve. I guess that's what happened with these monkeys. They were like, all the other monkeys are like, hey, everyone's evolving, by the way, like growing fingers and losing their tails and shit. Do you guys want to do that as well? They're like, us, Gigantopithecus, I think we'll be fine. You guys evolve, yeah, go make your little iPhones and drink your lattes. Monkeys are going to live forever. And they didn't evolve, and they died.
Yeah, it's like telling Charizard to evolve. It's like, bitch,
I am the
I'm
evolution.
shiny.
Yeah.
I'm a shiny Charizard.
I'm the end of the game.
Yes.
Maybe in a couple
boss.
million years, you guys will turn into Gigantopithecus.
They're like, you can't even say your own name. Gigantopithecus.
You're riddled with so many evolutionary flaws.
Okay, so it's possible this thing is a distant relation of Gigantopithecus or of humans and is real. And certainly it seems like the scientific evidence for the Patterson footage not being real is inconclusive. People are kind of arguing about that over the years. Let's look at the evidence, I guess, for it being a hoax. Is there anything to suggest this is not real? Some skeptics say that elements of the story just kind of don't add up. For example, the time that it took to develop the film in the first place didn't seem to match up with Patterson's version of events. The nature of that 16mm film should have taken quite a while. It would have been labor intensive. Skeptics argued that the story already appeared in papers before the men would really have had time to develop the footage, suggesting it's possible the whole thing happened at an earlier date than they were letting on. It should be noted, Patterson was arrested immediately after he saw Bigfoot.
Okay, that ain't good.
It was because he had rented his 16mm film camera and he held onto it for longer than he had agreed to rent it for, so he was arrested on the spot. The charges were later dropped, but some felt it colored him as a dishonest character.
Right. That's not too bad. It wasn't like he was trying to return a used gorilla suit without a receipt. That would have been a little more suspicious.
Well, you do say that, Rory, but one major cause for concern in the whole story is a project that Patterson and Gimlin were working on about 6 months prior to this footage coming out. In around May or June of 1967, Patterson began filming a docudrama or a pseudo-documentary about cowboys being led by an old miner and a wise Native American tracker on a hunt for Bigfoot. The storyline called for Patterson and his Native American guide, which was Gimlin in a wig, and the cowboys to recall via flashbacks the stories of Fred Beck and the 1924 Ape Canyon incident.
Yeah.
A story we covered on this podcast, a pretty cool story.
I really don't like the direction this is trending.
For actors and cameramen, Patterson used about 9 volunteer acquaintances, including Gimlin, for 3 days of shooting. Patterson would have needed a costume to represent Bigfoot.
Of course. Yeah, so just before they filmed and released the Patterson footage, he was shooting a fake movie in the woods with the guy he saw it with that involved a person in a Bigfoot costume. Just so we're clear on all the facts.
But they never made the movie. They never made the movie. So
Oh, they made the movie. It was the Patterson footage.
what? I don't follow that at all. What? That's crazy.
That is not good. That is bad. That is not at all what I don't know who I thought Patterson was when we went into this.
Hey, look, have you ever seen the Netflix documentary? What's it called? Like Icarus or some shit?
Yes, I have.
Yes. Great documentary, by the way.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's a movie where a guy goes to make a movie about doping and cycling, and then he accidentally uncovers the Russian Olympic doping scandal.
Yeah.
Sometimes you go to make a documentary about a big monkey, and then, oh shit, the monkey turned up on day 1 of filming.
Yeah, you've shot like 3 scenes before you turn around and see your buddy in the monkey suit. And you're like, oh, shit.
Patterson steps out of his trailer, starts rolling the camera. All right, Bob, if we could get you out there for scene 1. Oh, Bob, shit, brother. The costume looks amazing. Dude, all right, keep doing that. He's going method on this shit. Bro, keep going. This is gold. This is gold. Bob, you're working it. You are working it. Bob walks behind Patterson, taps him on the shoulder. Hey, Bob, I don't think the helmet fits so good on the costume. Bob, but if you're standing here, who's that over there?
Yeah, he's filming it just being like, so the script actually said we just need you to walk into frame very slowly. You killed and ate a live rabbit on camera. I don't know how we're going to work that into the movie, so I'm not sure that's going to work, Bob. Bob, this is a bad look for the guys, I would say.
But Rory, the Bigfoot costume was never found. The movie was never released, and the guys did uphold their story until the day that they died. I will say, as a final point, one strange, interesting point was in an interview, I believe in the 2000s, Bob Gimlin said, hey, I've believed my whole life. I've always believed in this story and believed in what we saw. He said, as I've gotten older, I've opened up a little bit to the idea it was a hoax. But strangely, he said, it's possible that Patterson did hoax me along with everybody else.
Right.
But if he did, it would have had to be a bloody good job.
Yeah, and he would have risked the person in the suit getting shot in the head, too, which is a pretty big risk to take, I would say.
I just found that interesting. It was a fun little twist of the whole thing. It is entirely possible that that's part of the confusion, was that it was only Patterson was in on the hoax, if it was a hoax.
Right. Yeah, that would have been dark if Patterson put his cousin in the suit and was like, look, Bob, I think in the bushes over there we can see the... Bob shoots it in the back of the head. Got him! We got him! We're gonna be famous! Quickly, let's go over and skin the beast to get a sample of the fur.
He's gone completely white.
Patterson's like, I'm never gonna be able to return that suit.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I know Gimlin's standing over the corpse. He just sees a zipper on the back of the suit. Oh, shit.
Oh, damn. Patterson, I think that we may be accident. He turns around. Patterson's running. He's trying to cross the border to Mexico. Yeah, this is so much of this just doesn't make sense to me. Maybe, you know what? I feel like we're heading into conclusions with all of this information in my mind fresh now. Can we rewatch the footage?
Yes, of course.
That would be great.
Let's fast forward for the others.
I don't know what they're talking about.
One thing that jumps out to me as believable is when you get into the experts debating whether this is true or not, and I wasn't making that up earlier. We were talking like the executive of Disney Corporation was interviewed in 1969 about the Patterson footage. And like these people are being like, we couldn't do this. If you gave us all the money in the world, we couldn't do this. But stay with me, because they were like, the suit's too good. Like they were like, our technicians can't make a monkey suit like that. So this is the kind of weeds you get into. I
just don't believe that.
Is a lot of people have said like the suit is weirdly perfect. And even watching that again, the range of movement of like the hands and stuff, it is incredibly fluid and it's incredibly lifelike. And I think that's why it stood the test of time. What I would argue is if our best argument is the suit is too good, we might have lost the argument.
Right.
Potentially. I do think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And you're rarely going to hear me say this on this Paranormal Life, Rory, but sometimes we do have to think of Occam's razor. What's more likely? That a creature has existed undetected for 250,000 years, known as Gigantopithecus, without a single body turning up or ever being found, and then is one day captured on camera by Patterson, or that he somehow got a really good gorilla suit.
Right.
Like, is it that unbelievable? Like, I understand it's pretty unbelievable that they had a really amazing suit, but that's still more likely.
Yeah. I think the 1 in a million chance of a needle in a haystack evolutionary spin-off from the monkey world was spotted by these two guys. That is very, very rare. The alternative being the guy who's a self-proclaimed Bigfoot hunter who was just days ago shooting a movie about Bigfoot that probably required a Bigfoot costume. Him just seeing it and filming this himself. That is probably the most likely of the two.
Occam's razor strikes again. Rory, at the end of every episode of This Paranormal Life, we have to come down a conclusion as to whether we believe our paranormal tale is real or not. We have just dissected the Patterson footage really beyond where it needs to be dissected. Do you think this is a yes or a no today about whether it's real?
You just said it. You just summed up this whole episode in one sentence. Because this is really the only, the most popular footage of Bigfoot in the paranormal world, and it's only 60 seconds long, it's been dissected beyond the point that it needed to be, where people are breaking down the tiniest little aspects or movements. Whereas we don't do that with other cases, with other photographs, with other videos of the paranormal, because there's so much more out there to talk about and look at, and it's longer than 59 seconds. So I think probably one reason why this footage has so much coverage is because so many people have looked at it over the years. I will say today's episode was probably a little bit closer than I thought it was. I thought probably outright I was going to give this one a no, but I can see why people say the conclusion is inconclusive, especially if they've done a lot of experiments and looked into this footage. But for me today, we've just seen better than this. That's the truth. This might have been the original, but we've seen better since this. Better proof of the paranormal existing in our world. So unfortunately today, I'm going to give it a no.
Oof. It is one no from Rory on the case of the Patterson footage. I think for me, it is the same thing. This is not a referendum on Bigfoot, but I agree with you, Rory. I feel like what you're saying is you can dissect a piece of footage. Sometimes you just got to go with the bleeding obvious, which is you take I think the average person in the street, you show them that off rip. I think the average person says that's a man in a gorilla suit.
Yeah, not to throw back another Olympics comparison, but I saw a video the other day that was comparing the Olympics 50, 60 years ago to the Olympics now. And back then, 50, 60 years ago, some of the gymnastics events, it was like a guy and he'd do a handstand And the handstand would last like 4 seconds, and then he'd come down, and people would be like 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10.
He had a gut. He put out his cigarette right before he did the handstand.
Right, yeah.
He was 46 years old. It was not in shape.
Yeah, the French dude did a forward roll. Someone just kind of twirled around 10 times and then stood still. That's what was competing in the gymnastics event. Now today, you have all these gymnasts doing crazy tricks. You know, flipping 6 times in the air. And that's kind of what's happened in the world of paranormal evidence. Cameras have gotten so much better that now when we're looking at these creatures and these stories, there's so much more to analyze. But at the time, this is all they had. Just a dude walking in a line in the woods.
I hear you, Rory, and I couldn't agree more that the famous footage of the skunk ape walking through the Florida Everglades, that brought me to tears as well, brother. And I know you believe that one too.
That was
high definition, and that walk no one could recreate, because if you remember, the grass was too tall for him to walk that fast. So that was a great piece of evidence,
dude. It's only so funny when you compare cryptid evidence to like UFO evidence, because UFO evidence will look at an object in the night sky and it'll be like, so yes, I will admit the object moved at a speed impossible to comprehend, making zero noise and turned at a right angle in midair, and then kind of just disappeared into nothing instantaneously. But it's just not enough, I think, today to say that it's definitely paranormal.
Yeah, and even though it would be literally impossible to hoax because no one has access to that technology, and even the military says they don't have that kind of technology.
Yeah, it's still a double no this week. And then in our cryptid cases, it's like, no, you don't get it. He was walking on mud. No human could have walked on that type of mud that quickly. So it's a double yes this week. It's crazy how different it is.
Shit.
But it is a no from me this week.
That is only our independent opinion. And as I say, check out what other people think. We are not the smartest people to ever tackle this case. But we do spend a lot of time thinking about the paranormal.
Yeah.
Almost 400 episodes.
We're
worth.
allowed to cover this case because we're not smart people.
Right.
You know, our talents aren't any use anywhere else. We'd only be a hindrance if we tried to contribute to society in any other way.
Look, sometimes after getting every expert on the case, sometimes you need to just ask the village idiot and see what he thinks.
Yeah.
Man on the street, Joe blogs. That's what we do here at This Paranormal Life. We cover a different case every week. We've done 400 main episodes almost. We've done hundreds more over on Patreon, which is so twisted to say.
The whole village is talking about this creature, and they're like, look, I know it's a little unorthodox. I know it's outside the box, but let's ask the village idiot. Maybe in his twisted mind, he can find the answers that were right in front of us and we couldn't see. They're like, Derek, what do you think the creature was? Derek hits him with a rock. Oh, you dumb mother! No one talked to him ever again. He's just stupid.
Yeah, I like the idea of that guy is the guy who sees the beast as well. Like, right, isn't that like the twist in the M. Night Shyamalan movie or something? Is like there would be like a blind kid.
Oh, yeah.
And the Sasquatch would walk right up to him and the blind kid wouldn't be able to see him or something. And you'd be like, oh my God.
Yeah. Or he appears in front of the mute.
Yeah.
And he can't say what he saw.
Yes.
So he's just making monkey poses. But everyone just thinks he's crazy.
As I said, if you love the discussion of Bigfoot, if you're one of those people who just can't get enough Bigfoot, I do recommend that Skunk Ape episode. It is in the back catalogue of This Paranormal Life. It came out about a year or so ago. I recommend checking that one out. But if you want just more fantastic cryptids, please head over to patreon.com/This Paranormal Life, where not only can you skip the bullshit you heard at the beginning of the podcast, where we talked up the ads for a while, you can get many, many other cool rewards, can't you?
Yeah, you absolutely can. It's funny you mention the ads again because I think in this episode we got so wrapped up in the ads at the start, we never actually broke and did an ad point in the middle.
Well, we did, Rory. They heard an ad, but but you don't need to talk about it. You don't need to talk about it because we cleanly because I didn't want to. You talked so much about the ads in the beginning. I didn't want to give you enough rope to hang yourself with in the middle of the episode.
So you didn't even mention that there were going to be ads at any point in the second half, just so that I couldn't protest.
Yeah.
But to all the listeners, they kind of came out of nowhere. They were blindsided.
Which is fine.
Yeah, because then they don't actually have time to fast forward.
See, they
That's
want to
smart,
fast
actually.
forward this. They want to fast forward this, whatever this is. That's the problem. That's the real problem.
Okay. Well, hey, head on over to patreon.com, as I said, and you'll have to hear this because this is part of the main episode.
Yeah.
But
I
you
wish
don't
it
have
weren't.
to
I
hear,
wish it weren't.
You don't have to hear any of those pesky little ads.
Right. Yeah.
But also do listen to the ads because the ads pay for the show.
Well.
So that actually helps us too.
Okay, so let's stop talking about ads for once.
Yeah.
There's bonus episodes. There's monthly bonus episodes, full-length episodes of This Paranormal Life. There's weekly after-party, behind-the-scenes catch-ups with me and Rory shooting the shit.
Yeah.
And as well as merchandise shout-outs as well here at the end of the show.
Yeah. Actually, in one of our, to make things even more confusing, in one of our recent Patreon exclusive episodes, we actually did do ads on the podcast because I was advertising my new phone application that I had released publicly. It was in beta at the time, but now it is publicly released. Do you remember this? It was an app called Mother's Day.
I wish I didn't, yeah.
It was an app called Mother's Day that just now and again reminds you, call your mom. When was the last time you texted your mom? It'll just send you a little ping alert.
Many downloads on that one?
16 so far, but that was for the beta. So we're opening it up. And of course, as you know, it goes in hand with its partner app, Dial-A-Daddy.
Yeah.
And you can use that app
Any
to once
downloads on
again
that
to zero so far. Zero so far. Yeah. But I'm hoping if it connects with the right community, it's going to blow up.
Yeah, I don't think that even conforms with Apple's terms of service on the App Store. It just seems wrong, seems bad. There is so much on Patreon, including questionable apps built by Rory. You can probably get that one at github.com right now. Head on over there to get that. Rory, I say we close out with a couple of shout-outs for our homies at Patreon.
Let's do it.
So special thank you to Kate from Nova. Yo, Kate from the Nova star system. We haven't heard from them in a while. That's crazy. You see, the problem is messages from the Nova star system take about 30 years to reach here.
Oh.
So
yikes.
Kate wasn't a spring chicken either when we last saw her, so I don't know if Kate's still around.
She is long gone,
Yikes.
I would say.
But I hope, Kate, if you're kind of on life support somewhere in a...
Cryogenically frozen in some sort of goo,
Ideally, in the Nova star system, then I hope things are well. Hope the sea is still purple, and I hope the sky is still brown. And because the star system is beautiful.
Think of all the podcasts you got to catch up on when you wake up. You're in for a treat.
Thanks to Balls. Yeah, I'm not surprised that Balls has picked this month to kind of support us on Patreon because Balls stock went up during the Olympics.
Right.
You know, not a lot of interest in balls. People ignoring the balls up until the Olympics, but now balls, bro, that's like Nvidia stock at this point.
Both hands full. Yeah, they're in high demand. Sports balls, footballs, every kind of sport balls, basketballs. You need your balls.
So
look after your balls.
Happy for you. Wish I'd gotten the insider trading tip, to be quite honest.
To invest in balls.
But hey, I guess there's always 4 years from now. Thanks also to Thomas Hansen. Thomas Hansen, or as they call him on the streets, Thomas Handsome. Mother looks like handsome Squidward.
Wow.
Chiseled jaw, chiseled abs, chiseled from marble. Yeah, that's right. He's a statue.
Oh, he's not a real person?
No, he lives in the town square. He probably died like 200 years ago or something.
How did he support us on Patreon?
It's a really great question.
Yeah.
It's kind of mysterious when you think about it.
He's made of marble.
Yeah, it's like Michelangelo's David
tuning in.
Podcast.
Yeah, I think he's on the $50 tier. He's got a coin.
How does that figure? So, but hey, if I would do the same thing. If I was getting a marble statue made of me, I'd lie.
Yeah,
I'd lie. Give myself a six-pack.
Hey, here's if you got two choices in this world to be handsome and made of marble, or ugly and made of flesh, I'm taking marble.
Right, kill me now. Encase me in marble. Thanks lastly today to Amartya Agrawal. A bit like the Patterson footage. Have you ever seen the Amartya footage?
No. What is that?
Yeah, it's, I would say, equally important, but, nothing to do with the paranormal, by the way. It was just Amartya left their camera on, or they didn't realize they were live streaming whenever they were doing some pretty embarrassing lip-syncing videos in their bathroom mirror.
Oh.
Yikes. But it's kind of taken on a viral life of its own, millions of views.
Right.
The Amartya footage.
Disney execs have looked at the footage and have declared they could never render anything this embarrassing, even with computers.
Even with the team that's behind Disney Pixar's Inside Out 2, they couldn't do shit. So Amartya, chin up, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, we all do embarrassing things, and I'm sure, look, yes, this will outlive you, and that's what your name will always be known for. But like, hey, you could do anything with your life.
You're going to be turned to marble. You're going to be put in a town square doing those embarrassing poses.
Yeah.
So good luck.
Never be able to listen to the Backstreet Boys again. Amartya, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who have supported us this month on Patreon, and every month you make this paranormal life possible. Hope you're not too bummed out that it's a double no on the Patterson footage, but we are going to be back with more compelling cases that I'm sure will be a double yes from next week.
We will.
Ciao, Bella.
Bye-bye.
Phil, we're on horseback that whole time, and then at the end there with the whoa, what's wrong, girl? The horse was like, acting up. That was a wicked good.
That was dope, actually. Put that in. Put that in.
Oh, shit.
My boy snapped. Like, I don't know, maybe the horse goes, like, whoa. Please use kids'
I
horses
know,
to sound
I'm
effect.
thinking just kind of a... Yeah. That's
know?
one of those ones is like, you can't try it again
Oh,
because you're
no.
never going to get close.
Yeah.
You up the second time.